I'm Pastor Steve Talmage at Love of Christ Lutheran Church in Mesa, Arizona. Each week, Pastor Nanette Christofferson or I try to provide a brief introduction to two of the assigned Bible readings. We're going to look at the first reading for Sunday, August 2nd, 2026. It's from the Old Testament prophet Isaiah, chapter 55, verses 1 to 5. Just a reminder as we look at this major prophet and very few passages in it, let's put things into context. There are key themes for each chapter of what is often called Second Isaiah. It's a message of comfort. In 41 is fear not, I will help you. A light to the nations, again speaking the people living in exile. The Babylonian exile has happened. They're wondering if God is with them, for them. Will they ever get to go home again? So we have a light to the nations. 43 is God's unfailing love and care. 44 to 45, no God but God, the forecast of Israel's return, a reminder why you've been exiled is you chased after other gods. But there also is the hope of coming back home. 46 to 47, proud Babylon will fall. 48, God's patient love for faithless Israel is reiterated. 49 to 50, I will never forget you. 51 to 52, an end to suffering. 52-53, God's suffering servant will illustrate God's empathy, compassion, commitment to fulfill the covenant that God has made, the covenants that God has made to Abraham, to Moses, to David. 54, chapters 54 to 55, come to me. And it's the call to return, to repent, and realize we can start again with God. So from Zondervan Handbook of the Bible, 54 to 55, God pledges God's self in tender, unswerving, and enduring love of God's people. God's love will never end for them. In peace and security, the foundations of a new city are laid. They're coming back to become the blessing to all nations. Back to Genesis 12, the covenant with Abraham. A blessing to all nations, and be ready to invite all nations to come and receive God's blessing. We are given both a present and future vision where sin and suffering will be no more. So these are two good chapters. These are hope-filled chapters. Let's look at our lesson, 55 verse 1. Ho! Everyone who thirsts, come to the waters, and you that have no money, come, buy and eat. Come, buy wine and milk without money, without price. We have this inclusive invitation from the prophet. Isaiah has a particular call to those who have lost everything. And if you know anyone that's been a refugee, anyone who's been displaced from their homeland, from their community, from their village, and had to live, under the generosity of foreign nations, you recognize this is a wonderful word to hear, because pockets are empty, bank accounts are empty. There's no storage unit with all your stuff. So this is an inclusive invitation, and God has extended it to all. We call this grace. We call this grace because it's to anyone who can't buy it. Verse 2, why do you spend your money for that which is not bread, and your labor for that which does not satisfy? Listen carefully to me, and eat what is good, and delight yourselves in rich food. So we have this kind of rhetorical question. And the question is, are you feeling empty or are you satisfied? Isaiah speaks to those who think material things will ultimately satisfy their hunger for meaning and fulfillment. Isaiah's words speak to our culture today when we consider 60 to 70% of our nation's economy is driven by what we consume. Consumption will never fully satisfy anyone. And so in the slide here, we live in a culture of conscious consumption. And the question is, are your choices consuming you? When we think of what you have to have, what you need to have, what you must have, what others are telling you that you have to have or need to have. And in reality, we recognize that stuff will never satisfy. Yes, some things may make our life more productive. They may make them more comfortable. But in the end, what's going to satisfy you are the relationships that you are in and particularly the relationship one has with God. Verse 3, incline your ear and come to me. Listen, so that you may live. I will make with you an everlasting covenant, my steadfast, sure love for David. Isaiah lists words which are critical for any relationship. How often do we hear people complain about people they care about just don't seem to listen? You can't deepen a relationship and experience intimate knowledge without deep, active listening. The exile was a result of the leaders and the people of God failing miserably to listen to the prophets or the promises of the past. This is an invitation again. To who are we listening to? What is it that we are driven to hear? How many times we say to ourselves, I only like to hear things I want to hear, not the things I don't want to hear. And that's probably why the prophets ran into some tone-deaf people. But God is extending this invitation to start over, to receive blessing, to return to your homeland, to discover the abundance of God, the provision of God, the bounty of God, the generosity of God, and to experience it in a community where all are given the same, all are loved the same, all are welcomed the same. Verse 4, see, I made him a witness to the peoples, a leader and commander for the peoples. The him is King David. This is a reference to King David. For the people of Israel, of all their kings, despite human frailty, he was the one who conquered their Goliaths, united the 12 tribes into one nation, and began the formation of that nation God promised to Abraham so long before. As the people of God would look for the future promised Messiah, David would be their frame of reference. So, in the Gospel of Matthew, you see importance put on the genealogy of Jesus, tracing him back to the line of David. Verse 5, see, you shall call nations that you do not know, and nations that do not know you shall run to you because of the Lord your God, the Holy One of Israel, for he has glorified you. Who draws who? Notice Isaiah affirms it ultimately is God who is the draw to what God will do through the people as they get their second chance to become the nation God blesses in order to be a blessing to all. There is something infectious, contagious, attractive when people discover and realize that they've been touched by God's amazing grace. They've been given a second chance, and they know they don't deserve that second chance, but still they're given that second chance, and their lives shift from an attitude of entitlement or playing the victim to people who begin to realize their hearts are overflowing with gratitude because they're getting what they don't deserve. And it's God's love. It's God's commitment to them. It's God keeping God's promise when we break our promises all the time. So reflect on these words from the prophet Isaiah. These are good news words. These are hope-filled words. These are invitational words. And they're words that we can extend to others, that God is on our side. God is for us. God is working to draw us into a deeper, loving relationship so that we in turn can be a blessing to others as we share the gratitude, the mercy, the empathy, the compassion that God has poured out onto us, particularly as Christians, as we've revealed and seen it in Jesus. Thanks for watching. God bless.